Hi everyone, this is Arlene, and we're going to do another little quick make and take that can be done by any age group. It's a lot of fun. I know you're going to enjoy it. Let me hold up the sample piece. Here's the sample piece that we're doing. Okay, and of course it's going to be done in any colors that you want, but I picked black and white because it really shows the contrast. So let me get this camera pan down and let me get it. Let me set this here so we can tell if we've got it to where we're centered. This takes me a second, guys. Be patient. Sorry I'm so slow with this, but eventually I will get there. This way maybe. Okay, this way. So how's that? I think that's pretty good. I don't know, do I need to get closer? Maybe, there we go. Maybe that's better. Okay, so let me set that piece aside. Let me bring this piece over. Okay, so now I want to tell you I've already put on 2 coats of Concepts Really White 244, and we're going to be using this color and of course Duncan's 253 Black. That's the 2 colors we're going to be using. We're also going to be using the Duncan Bisque, and I can't read the number, but it'll be on the paperwork. We're also going to be using what I call Eyelash Yarn that you can get at any store that sells yarn. Joann's, Hobby Lobby, those kind of places. I think Michael's might sell it also. So the reason you want to put on 2 base coats of whatever color, and it can be any color you want. You could use, purples, you could use blues, lavenders, whatever colors you wanted as the base coat. Remember, the base coat is what the eyelash yarn will end up looking like. So the yarn is where you see the white. So whatever color you want the yarn to be, that's the base color, okay? I applied the first 2 coats with a fan brush, but you can use a sponge because we're going to do the remainder of this with a sponge. So continuing with the white, I'm going to, let me get this untangled a little bit here so that we're not dealing with tangled yarn, because this stuff is like a nightmare to get untangled. Okay, so here's the thing you want to remember. Let me see if this is in the right position on the camera for you. All right, so I am going to take the yarn and I'm going to set it to where it's hanging over the edge here. And I'm doing that so I'll know where to pull it when I go to pull it off. So the first thing you're going to do with the same color as your base coat, you're going to put product on your sponge and you're going to, let me get my finger up here and get some paint on here. We're going to sponge down. We're going to use that base color as kind of like a glue to hold down the yarn. And you want to make sure you go in different directions and crisscross and do however you want to give it that, that really good eyelash look. So you're going to have to keep working it a little bit till you get the eyelashes completely stuck down. That's really important. Okay. So this is, like I said, this is actually the gluing agent. And instead of going this, because if I do straight up and down, it kind of pulls it up. I'm kind of rolling it a little bit and then going back and pouncing it on top. Okay. Let me turn this a little bit. I'm going to need some more. Let me grab some more white here right quick. I don't have enough on my palette. Oh, some of these lids are like really hard to open. Okay. There we go. This takes a little bit of paint, so. Okay, so now we're going to continue. making sure it's down. And before I continue around, I'm going to kind of go back this way again. This is like up to you, but I'm hoping you guys can see that because I know it's white on white, so that makes it a little bit harder. Oh, actually, you need like a third hand. As I'm going along here, I'm trying to make sure that it's all stuck down really good. Now I'm going to cross up this way and go back this other direction. Now, if you're working with kids, I probably wouldn't have them do it this ornate. You know, I'd kind of have just like go around and around. It'll make it a little easier for them, with the younger kids especially, or maybe even the seniors. Because, you know, I say any project you can do with children, you can do with seniors or vice versa. They seem to like the same kind of, I'm trying to keep my fingers out of paint, but I'm not doing a very good job. So let me go back this way and get down here. So, you know, the other thing that would be fun too is if you could put multiple colors underneath here if you wanted, I suppose, and then, you know, sponge the multiple colors on top, putting 2 or 3 colors on your sponge at one time so it doesn't make any difference what colors are where on your next coat. The reason I put 2 coats on to begin with is I want to make sure that we have good coats on here so that we don't have to put any glaze on this piece when we're done. And because we're using Duncan's Concepts, which is a frit-based bisque glaze, it doesn't have to have glaze on top as long as you've got 3 good coats. And of course, as long as you have 3 good coats, it's also food safe, which is also nice to. So I think what I'm going to do here is make like a little bit of a circle. You see that? I wish this eyelash stuff came in a different color, would make it easier for you to see, but I couldn't find it in anything but white, so that's what we're using. I'm sure it comes in other colors besides white, but unfortunately when I was purchasing it, white was the only thing they had. I mean, I always laugh because I crochet a little bit, but I do more threads than I do crocheting, so I buy more yarn for doing this than I do for to actually crochet. But like I say, this is a fun little project. It's a little bit of a challenge to get it down the first time, but once you get it down and it dries, it actually stays there. It doesn't have to completely dry, but it does need to dry a little bit so that when you put on the next coat, it doesn't raise the yarn back up. Okay. And back this way. Oops. So this I do. I took a seminar years and years and years ago. I can't remember how many years it was, but several years ago. And I believe the instructor that did this kind of a project was Sylvia Clayton, and it was at a international Duncan convention of our certified teachers. And she did it on a teapot, and it was a lot of fun on the teapot as well. So it can be done on any piece at all. It doesn't have to be on this particular bowl. It can be on a piece, it could be on a cup, it could be on a plate if you want to do it on a plate. It'd be cute to do a plate and a cup and have it to be a set. Come on, get down. It's really important that the glaze or the contact underneath the yarn is wet so that it sticks. And if you have to use your finger, that's okay too. As long as you don't mind having messy fingers. But a lot of the techniques that we're bringing out or bringing back now are things that we did years and years ago, because nothing ever gets old. But we have so many people who are new to the industry and doing either being a hobbyist or being store owners who own paint your own pottery places, or people who have home studios and they're looking for quick little projects to do. To have a fun night at the shop for somebody to do a quick little project where you can make some money, but it doesn't take forever to do it. You can get it done in a couple of hours. This project doesn't take a couple of hours. Of course, if you're doing it in your studio, it's going to take longer because remember, you got to have the coats dry. So it helps also if you have a fan. So that it helps with the drying issue in the studio. The other thing you could always do is, put on your first 2 coats and then have several little refreshments, or do something that's kind of fun with a icebreaker game or whatever to kill some time while it's drying. Or if, like with me, I always usually have a lot of the battery operated handheld fans, so it's not an issue for me to have fans for everybody so that they can dry. But that's up to you and what you want to do. Or if you have students who come all the time and you want to give them a supply list that they need to bring, you can add a handheld fan on that list and have them bring that with any other supplies that you need them to use. Okay, come on, get wet, buddy. Yeah. I'm going to just push that down with my finger. Okay, making sure that's down really good, right here too especially. Fingers come in handy, guys, okay? And a lot of times you can do too, because everybody likes to have their own color that they want for to go with their decor. Now I'm not going to cut this off. I'm just going to let it hang off on this end. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go around and look and make sure everything right there is not down. Because remember, if it's not down, then the color we put on top is going to, it's not going to have that design on there. Oops. Okay, that looks pretty good. Let me see. Let me just do it with my finger here a little bit, just to be on the safe side. Okay, that looks pretty good. Right here, where it's doubled over, I want to make sure that's down really good. Okay. All right. Oops. Okay, so now I'm going to take my bottle of white and I'm going to set this on top of there. Okay, and just let it dry for a second. And I'm going to take a paper towel. I'm going to wash my hands off because I've got more paint on my hands than I like to care about. But like I said, this is a good little project if you want to have like a home party and have your friends over and have do a little project like this and have some refreshments, or if you're somebody who likes to drink wine, have a wine and cheese serving along with this while it dries a little bit before we go back to put the second color on. I do need to wash out my sponge so that I can use the second color. So there's lots of things that you can do to be really creative and having parties and making some money if you're, looking to do this as a project. It's also, like I said, good for kids. So if you have Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts or work with the YMCA, or if you work with seniors, in different homes that or trailer, or parks where they have RV parks where they have ceramic clubs and they have people come in to do some little make and takes. This is always a great project as well. Okay, so now I got that sponge all cleaned out. Let me wipe my hands off from the paint. I want to make sure you guys can see this really good. Let me get rid of this, that color. We don't need that anymore. We are going to use the black. See how we doing here? Yeah, we're almost pretty dry. Okay, so let me just make sure that I can get you as close as I can get you. Maybe that's a little bit better. Maybe is that better so you can see it a little bit better, maybe, huh? And I want to go this way. Okay. There we go. So, whoops, okay, this way right here. All right. So I'm going to kind of leave this guy up here, so I think maybe you'll be able to see a little bit better what I'm doing, and maybe then I hold it, but let me see here. Yeah, I think you can see it better if I have it up here. And I put the next coat on. Now remember, excuse me, remember the next coat, because I'm using a darker color, I don't need to put on 3 coats. If you're using a darker color on the base, in other words, saying you're using a dark purple and you want to put lavender on top, well, you're going to have to put at least 3 coats of the concepts on top of the dark purple or lavender, because you want to make sure that you block that color out. And 3 coats of concepts makes it opaque. Because I'm on white, I'm not on as dark a background, so it's not necessary for me to do 3 coats. It's just necessary for me to make sure that I have good coverage. So it's going to take at least 2 coats probably. And I'm not going to do anything with the bottom right now or the inside, because I'm going to make that, paint that black when I'm all done and it's dry, okay? But you don't need to watch me paint 3 coats. All right, so let me see here. Let me make sure I've got this in the camera really good for you. Okay. So let me see if I can paint without looking to see what I'm doing. So I'm taking my sponge and I'm working with the rounded edge of the sponge, okay? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bounce and bounce. And as long, excuse me, and as long as my base coat is dry and the lace is down, or the eyelash yarn is down really good, it shouldn't be a problem, okay? Now you can see, probably you can see where in some spots here it's a little lighter. That's because the white wasn't completely dried, but we'll take care of that when we go to do the next coat. Okay. So first coat is just making sure we get everything covered as well as we can get it covered. Oh, I got a frog in my throat for some reason. So I can see some spots that I've missed, but that's okay. I'll get them the next go around. Whoops. Getting sloppy here. And my thing is moving on me. So you need to make sure too, if you're charging people to do this, that you make sure that you include enough to cover the cost of your paint, because this project does take more paint than most projects. So I would probably say that I would, if you're using a piece this size, I would plan on doing 2 ounces of each color. So I know Concepts comes in 2-ounce bottles. Of course, if you're a studio, you don't want to buy the 2-ounce bottles. That's much more expensive. But you can at least figure the cost on that. So whatever your cost would be for 4 ounces of Concept color, then that's what you want to charge for the paint. Excuse me. Let me take a sip of water here. Maybe that'll help, guys. Sorry. So now that now that I've gone around once, I'm going to be checking really closely to make sure that I have everything covered on the second time around. And of course, you're going to let your folks have a little more drying time in between than what I'm doing here, okay? But you know how we hate to wait for paint to dry, so I'm just going to proceed with doing this. Making sure that there's no white showing. If you have to press down a little bit harder with a sponge, then do that so that you get those white spots taken care of. Okay, let me turn this a little bit more. I know you guys can't see what I'm painting, but this time I need to see what I'm doing so that I make sure I got all the white covered. But you saw the first time that, and the first time is the most important because that's when you're making sure that the eyelashes material or eyelash yarn doesn't pop back up at you. And just about around. Okay. Also, when you're charging, don't forget to include of course, the cost of the bisque naturally, and any glazing and firing that you need to recoup. Okay. Unless you're going to have them, wait while it completely dries to paint the inside with your 3 coats of black on the bottom and of course on the inside, and that you will have to make sure. That's why I'm saying it's going to take at least 2 ounces of black to do that, to make sure you have enough to paint 3 coats on the inside and 3 coats on the bottom. Okay, I'm trying to wipe the color off my hands. So I think I might want to back up just a little bit here so you can see a little bit better. And then let go this way, this way. It's like, shoot, I can't remember which way to go. Sorry, guys. There we go. Now I want to go up, 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 up. Okay, and then let me go forward a little bit with this. There, so you can see if I go around that, I've got it all covered with the black. Okay, now remember, I told you it's important for you to remember where you left off. So let me get this out of the way. And let me get the sponge out of the way. And this color. There we go. So I have that end of the string here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start pulling. Let's see, I want to make sure you can see what I'm doing here. And you want to make sure you do this while it's still a little bit damp, because if it dries, the paint really chips bad. and you don't want that. So make sure that you, before it's dry, you begin to pull this yarn off of there. Now somebody says, can you wash the yarn and do it again? You know what? I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know if you can or not because I've never done that because that's just way too much work for me. It's not that expensive, and so I don't mess with it. So now you can see how that looks all the way around with that yarn. Okay, now lastly, what I would do is I would apply 3 coats of black concepts to the very bottom using a fan brush. Let me put just a little bit out so I can show you just what I'm talking about here. I won't be able to do the inside because the bottom will still be wet. But at least we can do the bottom. So let me put my finger under here. So we're going to take your fan brush and you're going to paint on the very bottom. Three coats of black. Okay, so that's one. So I'll let that dry, and then what I would do is I would apply 2 more coats. Now do remember, I'm going to turn this away. When you do the inside, you want to do the inside, and you also want to do the lip here with the black, 3 coats of black. Once you have that done, let it dry. I usually let mine dry overnight, and then stilt it and fire it to a shelf cone 06. Let me put the camera back up. Let's see here. And, whoops. Back up, back up, back up, back up, back up, back up. There we go. So make sure that you let it dry overnight and then stilt it and fire it to cone 06. Remember to remove the stilt marks when you're done. I think you'll have fun with this project, and like I said, it can be done with any colors that you want to do. Excuse me. I don't have whatever the stuff is going around now, COVID-19. I have COPD and lung cancer, so that's why I have the cough, so forgive me. But you'll have a lot of fun with this. And again, what I would try, something too you might want to try, and is to take, like I said, multiple colors of your choice and sponge on, put on 2 or 3 colors on a time on your sponge and sponge it on and kind of model it around the whole thing, doing that twice, and then again putting down your yarn and doing the modeled color back on top of your yarn. Now the thing that's nice about that with concepts, because one coat is not really opaque, so as you put the coats on, you begin to get multicolors because each color will begin to show through or mix and show a different color. So it gives you a great multitude of colors for a background. And then pick a color, a darker color, to do on top once you have your eyelash material on. And that will help you have a different look where you have multiple colored yarn. So where the white is will be multiple colors and then just a solid color on top, which I think would be very, very pretty. I hope you guys like this technique. It's a fun thing to do. I'm going to be a good girl. I'm going to post this tonight or tomorrow, and I'll have the instructions will be on my Facebook, Arlene D. Online Facebook page if you want the written instructions, or you can email me at arlenedonline@gmail.com, and I'll be happy to email them to you. So good night, everyone. Have a good evening, and I look forward to seeing you next time.